Hi. Official recaps here. It's late at night when a young woman finally leaves her workplace after doing extra hours. A group of guys take the taxi she saw first, so now she's stuck walking home. As she ventures down the dimly lit road, a van approaches her, driven by a man named Du-shik. He kindly offers her a ride home, but the woman declines, wary of getting into a vehicle with a stranger. Continuing her walk, she suddenly hears peculiar sounds behind her. Turning around, she discovers the van's door ajar, and from within, she hears the desperate cries for help. Intrigued, she cautiously approaches, only to find a heap of clothes in the lifeless body of a man. The source of the cries was none other than Du-shik, who seizes her and forcefully drags her inside, intending to end her life before she can escape. Moments later, having alerted the authorities by dialing 911 and changed her attire, Du-shik assumes an act of extreme distress as two police officers arrive. He directs them to the location where he left the bodies, pretending to have stumbled upon the scene accidentally. Falsely claiming to have witnessed a group of workers stabbing the woman, he attempts to deceive the investigators. Days pass, and Kim Kyung-mi finds herself at her customary customer service desk, attending to calls from deaf and mute customers via video calls using sign language. Although she faces rude and offensive customers, who hurl insults and gestures her way, Kim perseveres. Later, she proceeds to pick up her deaf mother from her workplace, a tailor's shop, preventing a near accident by utilizing the sound sensor in her car. Her mother is overjoyed, as she has been generously compensated this month, enabling them to fulfill their long-awaited vacation at the beach. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, Choi Seo-young prepares herself for an evening out. However, her overprotective brother, Jong Tak, who works as a security guard, argues with her about her choice of attire and curfew. Despite making promises to adhere to his rules, Seo-young disregards her brother's texts while on her date and fails to return home at the agreed-upon time. As she ignores her ringing phone, Jong Tak decides to go out and search for her. Late into the night, Du-shik embarks on his quest for another victim. Spotting Kyung-mi as she separates from her mother momentarily to find parking, he sets his sights on her. However, just as he is about to pursue her, Seo-young appears on the same street, causing Du-shik to redirect his attention towards her instead. Swiftly and discreetly, he pounces on Seo-young, unnoticed by Kyung-mi's mother, who is heading in the opposite direction and oblivious to the unfolding events. Once Du-shik is done with his brutal act, he approaches Kyung-mi's mother, only to have his plans repeatedly interrupted. Firstly, Jong Tak arrives, inquiring if the mother has seen his sister, and upon receiving a negative response, he departs. Shortly thereafter, Kyung-mi returns from the parking lot. On her way to reunite with her mother, she witnesses a white shoe emerging from a dark alley, accompanied by faint cries for help. Intrigued by the peculiar sight, despite her hearing impairment, Kyung-mi resolves to investigate. Inside the alley, she discovers a weeping and injured Seo-young, beseeching for assistance. Before Kyung-mi can take any action, Du-shik suddenly emerges brandishing an axe, aiming to attack and kill her. However, Seo-young intervenes, pushing Du-shik away, which grants Kyung-mi an opportunity to escape. Instead of running towards her mother, Kyung-mi opts to go in the opposite direction, prioritizing her mother's safety. She heads back to the parking lot, maneuvering through the cars, and cautiously opens the squeaky back door. As she opens it with great care, the noise catches Du-shik's attention, prompting him to pursue her. Fortunately, Kyung-mi manages to open the door just in time. Though the door is partially chained, creating a narrow gap, it is sufficient for a petite girl like her to slip through, leaving Du-shik trapped behind. Kyung-mi reaches her car and contacts her mother, instructing her to wait near the alarm. Immediately after hanging up, Du-shik suddenly appears in the backseat, wielding a knife. He forces her to drive but, instead of taking him out of the building, Kyung-mi accelerates towards the wall. Swiftly stopping just before impact, she capitalizes on the momentary distraction to make her escape. Another pursuit ensues, and Kyung-mi manages to reach her mother before Du-shik can catch up. Kyung-mi activates the alarm button, preventing Du-shik from getting any closer. While they await the arrival of the police, Du-shik retreats to his van, concealing Seo-young's body inside. He changes his attire and hairstyle, assuming the appearance of an ordinary businessman. Approaching the women with a nonchalant expression, Kyung-mi fails to recognize him as the killer due to his previous disguise of a mask and hat. She is on the verge of leading him to a dark alley when the police arrive, yet the officer discovers the alley empty. Kyung Mi requests to review the security camera footage, only to find out that a group of teenagers had switched off the cameras while using the parking lot to smoke. The three of them are taken to the police station to provide a formal report. Inside the elevator, Do-shik furtively eyes the weapons in his bag, then glances at the women. Kyung Mi's mother notices his behavior, realizing he no longer appears as grief-stricken. In an attempt to maintain his cover, Do-shik retrieves a black phone from his bag and expresses relief upon receiving a text from his sister, implying the body discovered earlier was not hers. Shortly after, Kyung Mi finishes giving her statement, but without a body or a detailed physical description of the killer, the officer's hands are tied. Although Do-shik wants to assist in the investigation, the cop reprimands him for interrupting others' statements, and a homeless individual, who had been sleeping on a nearby couch, takes the opportunity to insult him as well. Seizing the moment, Do-shik approaches the water cooler, muttering insults to the hobo in a hushed tone to avoid detection by the officer. The homeless man becomes enraged and lunges at Do-shik, initiating a physical altercation. Amidst the struggle, Do-shik inadvertently drops a white phone, which Kyung Mi's mother picks up. The officer intervenes, separating the two and escorting the homeless man to another room. Do-shik reclaims his phone and uses the excuse of reviewing Kyung Mi's statement to surreptitiously examine her personal information. Observing this, Kyung Mi's mother discreetly signals to her daughter that it is suspicious for the man to possess two different cell phones. When Do-shik notices their communication, he demands an explanation. Kyung Mi simply responds with nothing, prompting Do-shik to approach her mother while contemplating his next move, his bag of weapons at the ready. In that moment, a police officer emerges alongside Jong-tak, who is desperately seeking help in locating his missing sister. The officer instructs him to show the photograph to the other three individuals since it matches Kyung Mi's description. Do-shik feigns unfamiliarity, but Kyung Mi instantly recognizes her and hands him her statement to read. As Kyung Mi tries to provide additional details, the cop exits the room to address a homeless person attempting to re-enter the premises. Seizing the opportunity, Do-shik warns the mother not to make any moves or he will harm Kyung Mi. However, the mother manages to create a commotion that alerts the others. Just in the nick of time, Jong-tak turns around and intervenes, thwarting the knife attack. A fierce brawl erupts between the two men while the women rush outside to call the police. Do-shik eventually admits to injuring Seo-young, further enraging Jong-tak. In a fit of fury, Jong-tak mercilessly assaults Do-shik and even grabs the knife, placing it against his neck, demanding information on his sister's whereabouts. Their confrontation is abruptly interrupted by the arrival of the police. Exploiting the situation, Do-shik assumes the role of a victim, and due to the compromising circumstances, the officers mistakenly apprehend Jong-tak instead. Do-shik manages to escape while the women stay by Jong-tak's side. The police review the security footage and verify their claims to be true. While the mother and daughter enjoy some tea, the lights indicate someone at the door, causing them concern due to the late hour. However, it turns out to be the mother's coworker, who has come to collect some bags. The two elderly women depart together, leaving Kyung Mi alone in the apartment, oblivious to Do-shik's arrival. Do-shik disables the sensor outside the door to evade detection by the lights. Although his steps inside are detected, he triggers an alarm clock to mislead Kyung Mi into believing it was the source of the light activation. While she returns to her room, Do-shik proceeds to disable all the other sensors in the house. Meanwhile, Kyung Mi messages Jong-tak, who had given her his contact card for emergencies. Armed with an axe, Do-shik prepares to strike, but Kyung Mi notices a toy on the dresser activating without triggering the lights. Just in time, she avoids Do-shik's attack and flees to another room, barricading the door with a dresser. She quickly informs Jong-tak via text that the murderer is present. Do-shik attempts to grab her hand, but Kyung Mi manages to retract it and secure the door, locking him outside. Do-shik proceeds to forcefully break down the door using his axe, determined to gain entry. With no other means of escape, Kyung Mi takes a daring leap from the window. As she plummets, Do-shik seizes her by her hair, attempting to maintain his grip, allowing herself to land safely onto a heap of trash below. Soon, Jong-tak catches up to them, joining in the chase. After traversing numerous blocks, Kyung Mi finds herself cornered by Do-shik in an enclosed area. He prepares to strike, poised to attack, when Jong-tak arrives just in time. To prevent Do-shik from harming Jong-tak, he resorts to holding a knife against his own neck, threatening self-inflicted harm. This forces Jong-tak to make an agonizing decision, as Du-shik seizes the opportunity to send a text message to Jong-tak's phone, disclosing Seo Young's whereabouts. Faced with an impossible choice between the two girls, Jong-tak offers his apologies to Kyung-mi and races off to the location provided, an address that supposedly leads to Kyung-mi's home. Tragically, the place turns out to be empty, and Jong-tak only encounters Kyung-mi's mother upon her return. Meanwhile, Kyung-mi desperately tries to employ a discarded chair as a means of defense, but Du-shik wrests it away from her, using it to pin her down. With the phone in hand, he proceeds to verbally berate Jong-tak, blaming him for abandoning Kyung-mi in her time of need. Capitalizing on the momentary distraction, Kyung-mi seizes a handful of dirt, hurling it into Du-shik's face. As she reaches the street where Du-shik's van is parked, she notices the open door and witnesses Seo Young emerging, urgently seeking assistance, brandishing a knife. As Kyung-mi's mother and Jong-tak arrive at the enclosed area, discovering it to be vacant, the two girls conceal themselves in an alley, strategically positioned behind a refuse container. Kyung-mi urges Seo Young to call emergency services, but she hesitates, keenly aware of Du-shik's proximity. She drafts a message on her phone, instructing Seo Young to contact her brother, who is in close proximity. Taking advantage of Du-shik's diverted attention, she cautiously emerges from the alley, revealing herself only as he approaches Seo Young. Emitting an odd noise with her mouth and rattling a nearby metal shutter, she successfully captures Du-shik's attention. Focused on Kyung-mi, Du-shik gives chase, while she activates the alarm on a nearby pole once again. Kyung-mi resumes her desperate flight, initiating a renewed pursuit throughout the town, as Seo Young contacts her brother for assistance. Accompanied by their mother, he promptly mobilizes an ambulance to rescue Kyung-mi, with Seo Young conveying the direction in which Kyung-mi has fled. This time, Kyung-mi heads toward the downtown area, hoping that the presence of more people will hinder her pursuer. Navigating the bustling streets poses challenges, as she is unable to hear approaching cars. Despite the dangers she faces, Kyung-mi perseveres, eventually crossing to the other side and seeking refuge in a commercial district. Desperately attempting to solicit help from passers-by, Kyung-mi's voicelessness leaves her ignored and unheard. As Du-shik approaches closer, Kyung-mi finds herself with no other option but to draw her knife in self-defense, causing everyone around them to step back and form a circle. A man from the crowd attempts to call the police, but Du-shik intervenes, claiming that Kyung-mi is her troubled sister who might harm herself if the authorities get involved. Exploiting the distraction, Kyung-mi seizes the opportunity to escape. However, she is soon discovered by the police, who mistakenly believe Du-shik's fabricated story. Once the police depart, Kyung-mi breaks down in tears, managing to express her desperate pleas for Du-shik not to kill him as she still has so much to live for. Sensing the need for privacy, Du-shik leads her to a nearby alley, confessing that she almost convinced her, but it wasn't enough. He prepares to strike when suddenly Jong-tak arrives, just in the nick of time, and intervenes. A fierce fight erupts between the two men, with Jong-tak successfully immobilizing Du-shik by placing a chokehold around his neck. Relenting, Jong-tak releases his grip when Du-shik loses consciousness and rushes to check on Kyung-mi. However, their conversation is abruptly interrupted by a resurgent Du-shik. In a bid to halt Du-shik's assault, Kyung-mi picks up the knife, compelling Du-shik to retreat from the alley and redirect his focus towards her mother. Finding her in a bustling commercial area, he approaches her and urges her to accompany him into a dimly lit alley. Just as the situation intensifies, Kyung-mi spots them and charges towards Du-shik, brandishing her knife. Du-shik taunts her for failing to stab him successfully, only managing to injure his hand. However, this was all part of Kyung-mi's plan. She deliberately placed the knife in his hand and inflicted a stab wound on herself, making it appear as if Du-shik had attacked her. The police arrive and, eventually, they shoot him multiple times in the body. Even then, Du-shik remains undeterred, especially after Kyung-mi further provokes him by gesturing rudely. However, just as Du-shik prepares to strike again, Seo Young arrives and tackles him to the ground, finally ending his life. Many days later, Kyung-mi and her mother go to the beach to have the vacation they dreamed of. Seo Young and Jong-tak join them as well, and after showing them how they've been learning some sign language, the four of them take a picture together. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.